Your thoughts are not passive. They're not just background chatter or fleeting mental noise. They are active frequencies, living signals, broadcasting constantly into a field of limitless potential. And the universe is listening. There's a reason you've stumbled on this video. You're beginning to sense that reality is more malleable than you've been taught. That your mind isn't just interpreting the world around you. It's playing an active role in shaping it. But how? How does an internal image, a moment of imagination, or a passing desire reach out beyond your skull and ripple across existence? It begins with something called the energy loop. This is not just a metaphor. It's a literal loop, a circuit that forms between your thoughts, your emotions, and the feedback you receive from the outer world. Every idea you focus on, every feeling you amplify, sends a coded message into the quantum field. That message returns to you, wrapped in the language of synchronicity, opportunity, or sometimes resistance. The energy loop operates constantly, whether you know it or not. Most people run it unconsciously, caught in habitual thought patterns, emotional loops, and belief systems that create the same outcomes again and again. But what happens when you consciously tap into it? That's the purpose of this series, to show you how to access, direct, and master the energy loop. To take what's been operating below awareness and use it as a tool, no, a force for real manifestation. We're not going to dance around vague ideas. This isn't about positive thinking, wishing, or waiting. This is about aligning your internal frequency with the architecture of creation itself. We'll pull from neuroscience, energy psychology, and quantum theory, not just to theorize, but to apply. The goal is not to convince you. The goal is to show you how to verify these principles in your own experience. So here's what you can expect. We'll start by breaking down the vibrational nature of your thoughts, what that even means, and why your internal dialogue is more powerful than you think. Then we'll explore how emotion acts as the amplifier that powers the entire loop. We'll challenge the hidden belief systems that block energy from flowing. You'll learn how your subconscious has been silently working against your conscious desires, and how to reverse it. Next, we'll explore the mechanics of visualization, not as wishful dreaming, but as a real interaction with parallel potentials that already exist. From there, we'll pull in quantum awareness, observer effects, and show you how deliberate attention collapses reality into form. You'll learn to recognize synchronicity as a response, not an accident. You'll clean your thought signal, release emotional backdraft, and start hacking time to reduce manifestation delays. And finally, you'll discover how to stabilize all of this into a daily practice. How to keep the energy loop flowing, clear, and aligned with what you truly want. By the end of this experience, manifestation will no longer be mysterious. You'll see it for what it really is, the inevitable outcome of a consistent internal frequency looped through attention, emotion, and belief. You're here to remember the creative force you've always had. You're here to use it with clarity. So let's begin. Your mind is a transmitter. Every single thought carries an energetic signature, a specific frequency, that moves beyond your brain and into the quantum field. This isn't philosophy. It's measurable. Your brain emits waves. Alpha, beta, theta, gamma. These aren't just for EEG charts. These are literal pulses of energy that interact with the world around you. Thought is not contained. That's the first key. Your internal monologue is more like a broadcast tower than a private whisper. When you think a thought repeatedly, especially one charged with meaning or emotion, you begin sending out a consistent vibrational pattern. That pattern influences the energetic matrix around you. A space that physicists now agree is not empty at all, but full of possibility and fluctuation. Now here's where it gets more interesting. Every frequency attracts matching frequencies. This is resonance. In physics, this is well documented. In metaphysics, it's been taught for centuries. Thought doesn't just travel. It attracts. A fear-based thought creates more reasons to fear. A gratitude-centered thought pulls in more to be thankful for. It's not about karma or morality. It's pure resonance. So let's get precise. What does a high-frequency thought look like? It's clear, focused, repetitive. It aligns with your deeper values and intentions. Feels expansive, not contractive. And above all, it is repeated with enough consistency that it begins to form an energetic field around it. A field that draws in matching people, opportunities, and events. By contrast, a low-frequency thought is scattered, doubtful, self-defeating. It emits static. It interrupts the energy loop instead of empowering it. This is why manifestation doesn't begin with effort, it begins with clarity. Take a moment and scan the last hour of your inner world. What kind of signals have you been sending? Have your thoughts been repetitive worries? Lingering judgments? Unfocused desires? Every single one of those is a frequency. Each one begins shaping the feedback you receive. And most people do this on autopilot. But now you're aware. That changes everything. Let's bring in a bit of neuroscience. The reticular activating system, or RAS, is a network in the brainstem that acts like a filter. It determines what information gets through to your conscious mind. And guess what activates it? Focused thought. When you consistently think about something, your RAS goes to work. It begins highlighting, filtering, and prioritizing external data that matches your internal focus. Ever notice how when you start thinking about buying a certain car, you suddenly see it everywhere? That's not magic. That's your RAS aligning your inner signal with the outer field. So between the quantum field and the biological brain, we have a feedback system already in place. The energy loop exists across multiple levels: neurological, energetic, and environmental. But it starts with thought. This is why sloppy thinking leads to chaotic results, and why focused, intentional thought begins reshaping your experience. Now let's take it even deeper. Thought is electrical. Emotion is magnetic. When you think a thought, you send out an electrical pulse. When you feel something, you create a magnetic field. Combine them and you've got an electromagnetic signature, the kind that speaks directly to the quantum field. So the loop begins here. A thought emerges. It repeats. It gains emotional momentum. That creates a field. The field begins attracting circumstances that match it. Those circumstances reinforce the thought. The loop completes and intensifies. And here's the real secret. Every loop builds a reality. So how do you use this? You start with intentional thought patterns. You choose one idea, just one, and begin feeding it energy. You repeat it mentally, you speak it aloud, you write it down. You turn it into a signal so consistent that your brain, your energy, and your environment can no longer ignore it. And yes, at first, resistance will come. You'll notice old thoughts interrupting, doubt creeping in. That's natural. It means the new frequency is beginning to interrupt the old loop. Let it. Stay with it. Over time, repetition becomes resonance. Resonance becomes attraction. Attraction becomes experience. This is the thought frequency phenomenon, not a motivational slogan, but a literal mechanism of how energy becomes form. Next, we will explore the engine behind this mechanism. Emotion. The magnetic force that charges your thoughts and powers the loop forward. Let's continue. Every thought you think carries energy, but it's emotion that gives it force. Emotion is the magnetic charge that wraps itself around thought, transforming it from a fleeting signal into a powerful command. This is not abstract philosophy. It's grounded in the electromagnetic reality of your being. Your heart emits an electromagnetic field that extends far beyond your body, up to several feet in every direction. In fact, the field generated by your heart is thousands of times more powerful than that of the brain. When emotion activates this field, it becomes a magnet, literally, pulling in experiences that correspond to its frequency. Think of a thought like the arrow, and emotion as the tension on the bowstring. You can aim perfectly, but without the force of emotion, the arrow won't go far. When you think about something casually or intellectually, you're forming a weak imprint on the field. But when you infuse that thought with deep emotion, joy, certainty, awe, or desire, it becomes amplified. That amplification is what gives it the power to move through layers of resistance and begin organizing matter, time, and circumstance around it. Let's get more specific. Gratitude, for instance, is not just a feel-good practice. It generates a coherent heart rhythm that aligns your electromagnetic field with higher-order patterns in the quantum matrix. It organizes energy rather than scattering it. The more gratitude you feel, real physical gratitude, the stronger your magnetic signature becomes. The same applies to love. Not sentimental or dependent love, but the kind of expansive, unconditional emotional state that lifts you out of fear and into connection. This is a high-frequency magnet that draws more life toward you. By contrast, fear is an emotional magnet too, but it pulls experiences that confirm its signal. Anger, guilt, anxiety. These emotions are not just psychological states. They are energetic frequencies that reinforce the very loops you want to break. Here's a core truth. Emotion is not reaction. It's a tool. When used consciously, it becomes one of the most powerful forces in the energy loop. So let's make this practical. Begin by mapping your emotional landscape. Identify the dominant emotions you cycle through in a typical day. Are they uplifting, expansive, and aligned with what you want to create? Or are they reactive, conditioned responses that pull you into contraction? Don't judge them. Just see them clearly. Once you recognize the emotional patterns, you can start to shift them, not by suppression but by redirection. Instead of forcing yourself to feel positive, you generate resonance through presence and practice. Use this technique, emotional induction. Close your eyes. Picture one moment, just one, from your life when you felt elevated, clear, and whole. Replay it in slow motion. Let the emotion rise in your body, not just your mind. Feel it, hold it, expand it. Now pair that emotion with a current thought, a desire you're aiming to manifest. Merge them. Link the elevated emotional frequency with your thought form. That's how you encode the thought into the magnetic field. That's how you tell the universe, this matters. This is real. Bring more of this. Another key element is heart-brain coherence. When the brain and heart operate in sync, their frequencies align into a smooth, harmonious pattern. This coherence amplifies your field and increases the signal strength of your energy loop. You become biologically and energetically aligned with your intent. You can train this through breath, slow, rhythmic, heart-focused breathing, paired with feelings of appreciation. The more coherent your state, the stronger your signal. The stronger your signal, the clearer your manifestations. Here's the challenge. Emotion must be sustained long enough to embed into your loop. It's not enough to feel good for 30 seconds and then fall back into habitual stress. This is about frequency dominance. The dominant emotional tone of your day is the one shaping your tomorrow. So commit to mastery. Build emotional muscle. Learn to generate emotional states without needing external stimuli. This is the mark of a conscious creator. Someone who can feel ahead of the evidence. Someone who can summon the energy of a desired reality before it arrives. Remember, the universe isn't responding to your words. It's responding to your frequency. And emotion is the strongest modulator of that frequency. Next, we will uncover the invisible architecture underneath your thoughts and emotions, the belief systems that either unlock or sabotage your manifestations at the root. Let's continue. You can think the right thoughts. You can feel the right emotions. But if your core beliefs contradict your desires, the energy loop will short-circuit. This is why so many people struggle with manifestation. They do the surface work, affirmations, vision boards, daily routines, yet nothing shifts. Why? Because their underlying belief system is running a silent, opposing program. One that says, you don't deserve this. You can't have this. It's not possible. It's not safe. Belief is the code. It writes the rules of what is allowed to exist in your world. Here's what most never realize. Beliefs aren't just ideas. They're filters. Every belief you hold determines what information gets through your awareness and what gets blocked. When you hold a belief like, money is hard to make, your mind begins filtering out opportunities that contradict that idea. It literally doesn't see them. Instead, it highlights struggle, scarcity, and effort. Not because that's all there is, but because that's what the filter is tuned to. This filter effect impacts not just your mind, but your energy. Your belief becomes the boundary of your frequency. You can try to send out high vibration thoughts, but if your underlying belief is low trust or fear-based, the loop collapses inward. This is why internal conflict is so draining. You may consciously want something: love, abundance, impact, but your subconscious beliefs are generating a countersignal. That countersignal scrambles your frequency, and the energy loop returns a scrambled response. Mixed results, near misses, endless delays. So the key question becomes, what do I believe about what I want? Not what do I hope, not what do I wish. What do I believe deep in my nervous system about the thing I claim to desire? To answer that, you need clarity. Begin with a desire. Let's say it's financial freedom. Ask yourself, what beliefs do I carry about money? About success? About what's possible for people like me? Write without censorship. Let the subconscious speak. You might be shocked at what surfaces. I'll lose friends if I have money. Rich people are selfish. I always have to struggle to earn anything. It's not spiritual to want more. I'm just not the type of person who gets ahead. These beliefs aren't logical, but they are active. And as long as they're active, they override your conscious intentions. Once identified, your task is to challenge and replace them. Not through force, through evidence. Start collecting micro-moments of contradiction. Times when you earned with ease. Moments when abundance came unexpectedly. People you admire who are wealthy and kind. Use these as reference points to build a new internal narrative. Pair that narrative with repeated thought and emotional charge. Repetition is what reprograms. Feel it, speak it, write it, rehearse it. Here's a powerful tool. Embodied rehearsal. Close your eyes. Step into a scene where your new belief is already true. Not just intellectually, but in how you stand, breathe, speak, and move. Feel it in your posture. Feel it in your walk. Feel it in your voice. That's embodiment. That's integration. When belief lives in the body, it becomes magnetic. Another key is to identify borrowed beliefs, the ones that aren't even yours. You picked them up from family, religion, culture, media. They were passed down, not chosen. But they still govern you unless questioned. So ask, who did I learn this from? Is it true? Is it true for everyone? Your mind will begin to loosen its grip. The belief becomes visible. And what becomes visible can be changed. Also, understand this: beliefs are often formed under stress. Traumatic or emotionally charged experiences etch themselves into your neural pathways. That's why some beliefs feel so permanent. They were formed in moments of vulnerability. But permanence is an illusion. Neuroplasticity proves that the brain, and therefore the belief system, can be rewired. Deliberately, consistently, successfully. So here's the model. Thought begins the loop. Emotion powers it. Belief either opens the circuit or blocks it. Master your beliefs and you'll clear the static in the loop. You'll stop sabotaging what you're trying to create. You'll build a system that supports your desires rather than resists them. Belief isn't about convincing yourself of something false. It's about aligning with a deeper truth, one that serves your evolution rather than your fear. Next, we will turn our focus toward a powerful tool for aligning your internal and external worlds. Visualization, not fantasy, but direct access to parallel outcomes already in formation. Let's continue. Your imagination is not a theater for fiction. It is a gateway. When used with clarity and consistency, it becomes a direct interface with unseen timelines, probable futures, and alternate versions of your life already unfolding on the energetic level. Most people misuse imagination. They use it to worry, rehearse pain, or obsess over what they don't want. Every one of those images creates an imprint, a signal, a pulse in the field. That misuse weakens the energy loop. It diverts power toward reinforcing the undesired. But when visualization is deliberate, precise, and emotionally charged, it becomes a tool of alignment. Let's be exact. Visualization is not fantasy. It is focused creation. It is the act of generating mental and emotional blueprints that shape the direction of your field. Visualization works because the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined scenario and a real one. Neurologically, they activate similar brain regions. Energetically, they carry equal weight if paired with emotion. So when you visualize a reality as if it already exists, with sensory detail, emotional engagement, and certainty, you are sending instructions into the field. You're saying, this is the dominant frequency. This is the target timeline. The energy loop begins to rearrange in response. Begin with the visual scripting method. Start by choosing one specific scenario, something measurable, repeatable, and aligned with your desired outcome. Let's say it's being in a fulfilling relationship. Don't visualize a wedding or a blurry soulmate face. Instead, focus on a vivid, repeatable moment, a dinner, a walk, a shared conversation. Include all 5 senses. What does your environment look like? What are you wearing? What tone does your voice carry? What emotions are circulating through the body? Zoom in. See the light, the shadows, the textures. Add sound, motion, breath. The more detail you feed your mind, the more real the signal becomes. The field does not respond to vague. It responds to clarity. Now pair it with emotion. Feel the version of you who's already living this reality. Not as something you're hoping for, but as something that simply is. Feel the normalcy of it, the casual confidence, the energetic match. This is not about getting something. It's about becoming the version of yourself who already lives it. That shift, from desire to identity, is the key to visualization. Let's talk about consistency. One visualization, no matter how vivid, won't do much on its own. You're not trying to impress the field. You're training your frequency. This is repetition with feeling. 5 to 10 minutes daily, revisiting the same scene with the same emotional signature. Over time, the loop strengthens. The signal sharpens. The subconscious accepts it as familiar. And here's where things begin to move. Synchronicities appear. Conversations shift. Ideas drop in. Why? Because the energy loop has received a new directive, and it's feeding it back through your environment. Now let's advance the method. Layered visualization. Once your first scene becomes second nature, begin layering. Add more scenes. Expand timelines. Don't skip steps, build. Move from one moment to the next as if flipping through chapters of a book you've already written. You're not imagining. You're remembering forward. Each scene is a memory from a timeline that's already active in the field. Your job is to link to it with frequency. Another key, use anchoring in your visualizations. Introduce consistent symbols. A necklace, a phrase, a number, a location. When you encounter those anchors in real life, they trigger the memory of your vision, reinforcing the loop. This is how you keep the signal alive throughout the day. Your outer world begins echoing your inner signal. That's not coincidence. That's resonance. You can also use mirror work. Stand before a mirror. Visualize not the event, but the version of yourself who already lives it. Speak from that version. Feel their energy in your posture. Observe how they hold eye contact, how they breathe. This isn't role play. It's reinforcement. You're shifting your nervous system into coherence with the timeline you've chosen. That coherence gets broadcast through your energy loop, and the field responds. Remember, visualization is not about controlling outcomes. It's about aligning with the version of reality where your desire is already fulfilled. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are linking to what is already true in the energetic. Visualize consistently. Feel it deeply. Anchor it daily. Next, we will examine the raw mechanism that underpins this interaction with the quantum field, the observer effect, and how your awareness itself carries the power to shape reality at the most fundamental level. Let's continue. Every time you observe something, you influence it. That's not a spiritual metaphor. It's a documented quantum reality. The very act of observation collapses a wave of probabilities into a particle of experience. Awareness does not just witness reality, it selects it. This is known as the observer effect. It reveals something that changes the game completely. Your focused attention is a creative force. Here's what the quantum experiments show. Until a particle is observed, it exists in a state of superposition, meaning all possible states exist simultaneously. But when it is measured, observed, the particle chooses a single state. That observation forces the field to localize. It chooses from the infinite and materializes a single path. Now apply that to your life. Your reality at any moment contains infinite potentials. Health and illness, wealth and struggle, expansion and contraction. These states exist in probability until your attention selects one. Once selected, the energy loop begins feeding that state with confirmation. So what determines what you observe? Your focus, your emotion, your belief, your expectation. This is why intention is so powerful. Not because it begs the universe for a result, but because it directs your observation. And what you observe becomes what you experience. This places responsibility in your hands. You can no longer pretend to be passive. Every moment you focus on lack, you collapse more lack into form. Every time you obsess over limitation, you signal the loop to reinforce it. Not as punishment, as response. Now let's upgrade your awareness. Begin by tracking your attention. Observe the observer. Throughout the day, catch your awareness. Where does it land? Does it linger on problems? On fears? On memories that drain you? Or does it hold on potentials? On beauty? On the tiniest signals of movement in your desired direction? Train your mind to become a precise observer. This is not denial of reality, it is conscious selection of frequency. The more selective you are, the more refined your signal. Next, use a method called intentional noticing. Set an intention in the morning. Today, I observe evidence of alignment. This simple cue programs the mind to look for what supports your frequency. The brain begins scanning. The field begins responding. That response becomes feedback. The feedback strengthens belief. The loop accelerates. This is how you move from drift to direction. Another tool is focus silence. Spend 3 to 5 minutes daily in complete stillness. No agenda, just observation, noticing the breath, the sensations, the thoughts, the sounds. Why? Because silence sharpens the observer. It separates signal from noise. It allows you to notice patterns, loops, and unconscious programs running in the background. Once noticed, they can be reprogrammed. You can also use your environment as a mirror. Every external circumstance is a response to your internal focus. Not a judgment, not a punishment, a reflection. If you repeatedly observe rejection, scarcity, or chaos, trace it back to where your attention lives. What version of reality are you repeatedly selecting? Then shift. Not by force, by focus. Direct your observation toward even the smallest indicators of the frequency you wish to amplify. Appreciation, clarity, opportunity, expansion. The field listens to your awareness like a GPS listens to coordinates. Set them deliberately. Another truth. Split focus weakens the signal. When your attention is scattered, part on fear, part on hope, part on doubt, the energy loop becomes scrambled. Results delay. Feedback becomes contradictory. But when your observation is steady, when you watch reality with the expectation of confirmation, the loop stabilizes. That stabilization begins to magnetize new experiences into your orbit. You are not watching reality. You are selecting it. That is the lesson of the observer effect. Awareness is not passive. It is directive. It is the origin point of all manifestation. Next, we will look at the language that reality uses to respond to your internal frequency synchronicity, and how recognizing this feedback allows you to accelerate the energy loop even further. Let's continue. Life is not random. The patterns you notice, the coincidences you brush off, the repeating numbers, phrases, songs, names, or events, they are not meaningless. They are signals. Signals that reveal how closely your energy loop is aligned. These signals are known as synchronicities. They are the universe's way of responding to the dominant frequency you've been broadcasting. They are not accidents. They are data. And if you know how to read that data, you gain insight into whether your loop is calibrated or misfiring. Let's start with a simple premise. Synchronicity is feedback. It tells you where your focus has been, what emotional energy you've been emitting, and what beliefs are active in your energetic field. It is your mirror, precise, responsive, and real-time. Most ignore it. They dismiss repeated patterns as coincidence. They miss the message and continue in the loop, unaware. But you now understand the loop is alive. It speaks. And synchronicity is its language. So how do you begin to read it? Start with observation. Develop the habit of noting repeat symbols. Don't assume meaning, just collect data. Numbers, names, strange timing, familiar faces showing up unexpectedly. These are not external flukes. They are internal reflections. Each one says, look here, feel this, tune your awareness. You are being nudged, not controlled, not coerced, but gently guided by the feedback of your own signal. Let's get more specific. Say you begin visualizing a new career. You rehearse it mentally, charge it emotionally, reinforce it with belief. You walk outside and overhear a stranger talk about that exact career path. Later, a random email pops up with an article on that industry. Then you see a post from someone who already lives the lifestyle you're cultivating. That's not the universe teasing you. That's confirmation. That's the loop beginning to reflect back the signal you're feeding it. When you notice, really notice that signal, you strengthen the loop. Awareness of synchronicity enhances the coherence of your field. It multiplies the effect. But if you doubt it, question it, ignore it, the loop weakens. The signal becomes foggy. The field mirrors back confusion. So how do you cultivate more synchronicity? Simple, consistent frequency. The more consistently you think, feel, and observe from your chosen reality, the more consistently the field responds. This is not a one-time visualization. This is the embodiment of a new signal, sustained long enough that the universe must respond. And it will, through doors opening, through delays disappearing, through people calling at the exact right moment, through a sentence in a book that feels written just for you. Your job is not to chase synchronicities. Your job is to stabilize your signal. Synchronicities follow. Now introduce a new tool, the synchronicity tracker. Each evening, write down any patterns, signs, or feedback loops you noticed that day, even if small. The more attention you give these patterns, the more frequent they become. Attention feeds the loop. What was subtle becomes loud. What was rare becomes normal. You're training yourself to recognize energetic feedback as clearly as you recognize a text message. This develops intuitive accuracy. You stop asking, is this a sign? And start saying, message received. Here's another truth. Not all synchronicities are positive. You may attract delay, breakdowns, or frustrating patterns, not as punishment, but as red flags. These are corrective. They tell you when your loop is being disrupted by old thought forms or buried emotional residue. Don't ignore them. Decode them. Ask, what belief just played out? What energy was I in when this happened? What version of me is this event reflecting? Use contrast as instruction. As you refine your awareness, synchronicities begin to cluster. This is called acceleration. It means your loop has become potent, your frequency coherent, and your signal is aligning tightly with a timeline. Doors open faster. Thoughts manifest quicker. Time compresses. That's not magic. That's physics. And awareness is the driver. So build your sensitivity. Track the patterns. Align the signal. And let synchronicity become your feedback dashboard. Next, we will explore one of the biggest obstacles to the loop, the static caused by scattered, unfiltered thought, and how to clean your signal with precision. Let's continue. Thoughts carry energy, but not all thoughts are useful. Some are noise. Some are pollution. Some are deeply corrosive to the frequency you're working so hard to stabilize. This is where thought hygiene comes in. Your energy loop depends on the consistency of your signal. That means clean, coherent, and focused thought patterns. Not obsessive. Not chaotic. Not tangled in loops of fear or fantasy. Clean. Most people walk around broadcasting a scrambled signal. 10 desires, 5 fears, 2 complaints, 3 memories, 1 hope. All within a minute. That signal has no clarity. The field cannot respond with precision because the sender isn't sending with precision. So begin with a simple principle: thoughts are inputs, and every input shapes the loop. You don't have to monitor every passing idea, but you must become conscious of recurring thought patterns, the ones that dominate your inner dialogue. These are the templates your field responds to. Take inventory. For the next 72 hours, track the content of your internal conversation. Use the 72-hour thought audit. Carry a small notepad or open a note on your phone. Every few hours, jot down what your most frequent thought themes have been. Be honest. Are they centered on progress or problems? On potential or limitation? On empowerment or guilt? Patterns will emerge. You'll start to see the coding underneath your reality. Once you identify the distortions, begin cleaning the signal. Here's how. Interrupt negative loops. When you catch yourself spiraling into fear, doubt, or past-based thinking, stop. Use a verbal or physical cue. A clap, a word, a shake, to break the pattern. Replace with clarity. Insert a simple, high-frequency phrase in place of the distortion. Not fluff, not fake positivity. Something that feels neutral, focused, and real. Example, instead of "nothing ever works," replace with "I'm shifting the pattern now." Instead of "this is taking forever," say "I'm stabilizing my field daily." These statements reorient your energy loop. Create a thought filter. Use a 3-part filter before letting a thought linger. Is this useful? Is this aligned? Is this repeat-worthy? If the answer is no to any of those, drop it. Don't argue with it. Don't fix it. Just let it go. Every thought you rehearse becomes part of your frequency. Choose with care. Implement thought anchors. Choose 2 to 3 thoughts that do align, ones that support your goal and stabilize your signal. Repeat them throughout the day like tuning forks. When your mind drifts, come back to the anchor. These thoughts become your energetic foundation. Another tactic, mental fasting. Spend 10 to 15 minutes daily in complete thought stillness. Let whatever comes up pass without engagement. Do not follow any trail. This builds awareness, disrupts compulsive thinking, and helps detox the mental body. With time, the space between thoughts increases, and into that space flows clarity, intuition, and signal strength. You can also curate your outer input. What you read, watch, and consume influences your mental tone. Your mind is not a closed loop. Every tweet, article, video, or conversation you absorb feeds the loop. Be selective. Guard your signal. You're not avoiding reality. You're choosing which reality to reinforce. Final key, be consistent, not perfect. You will think negative thoughts. You will fall into patterns. That's normal. But the power lies in recovery speed. The faster you return to clarity, the stronger your energy loop becomes. You are not trying to control the mind. You are guiding it. You are building a mental environment that reflects your desired frequency, one repetition at a time. Next, we will address another hidden disruptor of the energy loop, old emotional patterns that operate like energetic backdrafts, pulling you into the past and sabotaging your signal. Let's continue. You've cleared your thoughts. You've stabilized your beliefs. You're even starting to recognize synchronicities. But something still feels stuck. You feel an invisible pull backward, a heaviness, an echo of something unresolved. You keep attracting situations that feel emotionally familiar, even though you've mentally moved on. That's the effect of an emotional backdraft. It's not caused by your current mindset. It's caused by residual energy, trapped emotions stored in your system that haven't been cleared, only suppressed. These echoes carry just enough charge to distort your frequency, disrupt your loop, and replicate unwanted outcomes. Emotions are energy. When fully felt, they move. When resisted, they embed. Most people learn to override emotional experiences, to push through, numb out, or intellectualize. But energy doesn't disappear. It settles into the nervous system, into the body, into the field. That stuck energy doesn't just affect your mood. It becomes a broadcast. It sends out a silent message into the loop. I'm not safe. I'm not ready. I'm still hurting. The field hears that and reflects accordingly. This is why repetition of unwanted emotional patterns occurs. Not because you're broken, but because energy wants release. So how do you identify an emotional echo? Look at your most frequent emotional states. Are there certain feelings that emerge easily, often, or without cause? Sadness that lingers despite good news. Anxiety in the absence of danger. Shame that arrives when no one is criticizing. These are signs of stored resonance. Echoes of past energetic impressions that are still vibrating through your loop. Another clue is emotional overreaction. When your response to a situation is disproportionately intense, it's likely tied to an unresolved echo from earlier in your life. So, the solution is not repression. The solution is energetic release. Start with a process called emotional witnessing. Set aside 5 to 10 minutes. Sit quietly. Let your breath slow. Ask yourself, what emotion have I been avoiding feeling fully? Let it rise. No narrative. No analysis. Just sensation. Where is it in your body? How does it move? Does it have a color, shape, or temperature? Your only task is to feel it without interruption. Stay present. Allow the body to process what the mind avoided. This alone can dissolve years of stagnant energy. For deeper release, introduce somatic movement. Use slow, intuitive motion, stretching, shaking, swaying, to allow the energy to discharge physically. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Let it speak. If tears come, let them. If breath shifts, follow it. This is not performance. This is recalibration. You are not broken. You are clearing residue that's distorting the signal. Breathwork is another powerful method. Use conscious connected breathing, rhythmic, circular breaths with no pause to open emotional channels. Within minutes, old emotional imprints can surface and release. You're not trying to make something happen. You're making space for something to clear. When emotion is felt and freed, your energy loop stabilizes. Your frequency no longer broadcasts past pain. It becomes aligned with present possibility. Also recognize emotional echoes in language. Phrases like, I always get hurt. No one really sees me. It's never enough. These are not observations. These are echo patterns. They reinforce emotional charges and recreate the loop. Replace them with neutral truth. Try, I'm learning new ways of being seen. I'm updating what I expect from relationships. I'm releasing the pattern of proving my worth. This reframes the loop in real time. Use emotional anchors as well. Create a physical or sensory cue. A bracelet, a scent, a song that helps regulate your emotional energy when you notice an old pattern rising. You're not running from it. You're grounding yourself in a new frequency while the old one clears. This emotional resilience creates flexibility in your loop. You can now hold high frequency even as echoes rise. You become non-reactive but not numb. Clear, but not detached. Final truth. Emotion is not weakness. It is signal. When you stop fearing your own feelings, they stop controlling you. When you fully process emotional echoes, you collapse the energetic loop that kept them alive. What follows is space. Space for new energy, new clarity, new outcomes. Next, we address one of the biggest misunderstandings in manifestation, time. You'll learn why delay is often an illusion, and how to engage time as a flexible, creative component in the energy loop. Let's continue. It's working, but it feels like nothing's happening. You've stabilized your thoughts. You've charged your emotions. You've rewritten your beliefs and tracked your synchronicities. But the physical manifestation still hasn't arrived. So you begin to doubt. You pull your signal. You start overthinking. The energy loop gets interrupted. And the cycle resets. All because of one misunderstanding, the belief that time is fixed. It's not. Time is elastic. And delay is often not real. It's just a feedback artifact from misaligned perception. Let's reframe time completely. Time is not a straight line. It's a field, a flexible medium in which events, thoughts, and realities coexist. In the quantum field, all moments already exist. There is no past or future, only varying degrees of energetic alignment. So when you wait for something, you are not actually waiting for it to exist. You are waiting for your frequency to match the version of you where that thing is normal. The universe doesn't delay. The loop responds based on alignment, not urgency. Here's the trap. When you focus on time, how long something is taking, you reinforce separation. You signal, it's not here yet. That signal enters the loop, and the field mirrors it with more waiting. You literally extend the distance between you and your desire by observing the gap. So the goal is not to eliminate time. The goal is to collapse it. And you do that by removing the illusion of distance between who you are now and who you are in the outcome. Here's a technique: identity merging. Each morning ask, how does the version of me who already has this think, feel, act, choose, speak? Then practice embodying that version. Not pretending, not wishing, practicing. The energy loop begins to adjust. Your body, your habits, your tone, all shift into the field where that reality is already active. And the field mirrors it faster than if you simply hoped and waited. Next, use time loops as alignment tools. Recall a time when something you deeply desired showed up out of nowhere. Didn't the wait seem long, until the moment it appeared, and suddenly all the time collapsed into one perfect arrival? That's not memory. That's insight. The feeling of too long vanishes once the loop completes. Time only feels slow when observed through resistance. So stop measuring time by the clock. Start measuring by coherence. Ask, how aligned am I right now with the version of reality I want to experience? The more aligned you are, the more nonlinear time becomes. Synchronicities tighten. Ideas arrive with precision. People show up without effort. That's time collapse in action. Here's another key practice: end-state awareness. Throughout the day, mentally rehearse short scenes that reflect your end result as if it were happening now. These are not dreams. These are frequency reinforcements. Spend 60 seconds walking down a hallway like someone who just received the phone call. Sit at your desk like someone who already got the offer. Close your eyes before sleep as if you're grateful it's already done. This compresses the signal. Time bends. Also, release urgency. Urgency signals fear of lack. It tells the loop, I don't believe this can happen without panic. That distortion delays response. Instead, move from preference, not desperation. Want deeply. Align clearly. But stay grounded. Trust stabilizes the field. Panic disrupts it. Here's a paradox. The faster you let go of time, the faster things arrive. Because surrender is not giving up. It's collapsing the loop into a single point of awareness. The saying, I'm already resonant. I don't need proof. I am proof. That energy sends a whole different message to the field. One that doesn't beg, but broadcasts. Also recognize when your energy loop is testing integration, not delaying. Sometimes the pause is not punishment. It's calibration. The loop is giving you time to embody, stabilize, and hold the frequency, so that what you attract is sustainable, not fleeting. This is precision, not punishment. Don't resent the space. Use it. Refine. Repeat. Reinforce. Final shift. Make time your ally. Use time for momentum, not measurement. Set micro-practices across your day, thought, breath, posture, visual cues that hold the frequency of your desired outcome. Each moment becomes reinforcement. Each hour becomes alignment. Each day becomes evidence. Time then becomes a field of multiplication, not limitation. Next, we will move into stabilization, not in the abstract, but in the concrete. You'll learn how to energetically anchor the version of reality you're choosing and keep it steady in your field. Let's continue. You've refined your thoughts. You've activated your emotions. You've identified and upgraded your beliefs. You've worked with visualization, focus, and time. But there's a missing piece: stabilization. Without it, the energy loop begins to fluctuate. Signals weaken. Momentum stalls. Results come and go. That's where anchoring comes in. Multidimensional anchoring is the process of reinforcing a chosen reality across mental, emotional, physical, and energetic layers, so it holds its shape and continues to manifest through consistency. This is how you lock in frequency until reality reflects it permanently. Here's the issue. Most people fluctuate wildly between frequencies. One moment they feel certain. The next they doubt. One day they visualize. The next they forget. They oscillate between outcomes and then wonder why the field sends mixed results. Anchoring removes that instability. It gives the energy loop a coherent structure. It trains your internal state to default toward the chosen timeline instead of constantly reacting to the outer world. So how do you do it? Start with sensory anchoring. Choose one physical item, a ring, necklace, coin, crystal, or piece of clothing, and assign it an energetic meaning. Every time you touch, wear, or see this object, it activates the feeling of your chosen reality. It becomes a frequency tag, a consistent reminder of who you are becoming. Reinforce it mentally and emotionally. Speak the version of reality it represents. This is my alignment with financial ease. This holds the signal of my healed state. Over time, your nervous system links the object with the state. The signal becomes easier to hold. Next, introduce environmental anchoring. Your space holds frequency. If your environment contradicts your new timeline, it disrupts the loop. Clutter, outdated imagery, uninspiring objects. These are physical echoes of old realities. Begin to shift your space. You don't need a full renovation, start small. Place one object that belongs in the version of life you're aligning with. A book, a color, a scent, an image. Let your environment become a silent reinforcement of your chosen path. This conditions your subconscious to feel at home in the new energy, and the energy loop responds by sustaining it. Now move to postural anchoring. Your body speaks the language of energy. Posture, breath, and expression all influence your signal. Ask yourself, how does the version of me in the desired reality carry themselves? Now match that. Adjust your shoulders, tone, gaze, and breath. You're not pretending. You're syncing with a reality that already exists. This is embodiment, not performance. Hold that posture during key moments of the day while walking, working, waiting. Each time you do, the frequency reinforces. Use language anchoring as well. Create 3 personalized phrases that reflect your chosen reality. These aren't affirmations to force belief. They are declarations from the identity you are choosing to stabilize. Example, I operate from overflow. This version of me already exists. I trust the structure unfolding through me. Repeat them daily. Write them. Speak them. Think them. Let them become the background hum of your field. This repetition conditions the loop. Also introduce symbolic anchoring. Use a symbol, a shape, sigil, number, or piece of art that connects you to the energy of your intention. Place it somewhere visible. Let it serve as a visual reinforcement of alignment. This works on the subconscious. Symbols bypass logic and speak directly to your energetic field. Choose something that resonates on a visceral level. When you see it, your frequency should shift subtly into certainty. You can also use ritual anchoring. Create a simple, repeatable action you do every day to signal alignment. Lighting a candle, drinking from a designated cup, playing a specific sound. These are not for superstition. They're rhythm setters. They tell your mind and field, this is the identity I return to. This is the signal I hold. Repetition creates pattern. Pattern becomes structure. Structure stabilizes the loop. Next, track your energy. Throughout the day, check in. What am I aligned with right now? If you're drifting into doubt, re-anchor. Use a breath. Use a phrase. Use your posture or your object. Pull yourself back into coherence. You are the anchor. You are the signal. Everything else is reflection. Final truth. Anchoring is not rigidity. It's consistency. It doesn't lock you in place. It locks your frequency in place, allowing the external to adapt around you. You stop chasing. You stop grasping. You stop second-guessing. And the energy loop, now steady and clear, begins to solidify outcomes with precision. Next, we'll build a daily structure. A method to reinforce your thoughts, emotions, and actions that ensures your loop stays aligned no matter what's happening externally. Let's continue. The energy loop responds to repetition. Not just any repetition, aligned, emotionally charged, behaviorally consistent repetition. Without it, manifestation remains random. With it, outcomes become predictable. That's the purpose of the 3x3 manifestation grid, a structure that helps you maintain alignment across thought, emotion, and action 3 times a day. It's simple, it's powerful, and it builds coherence faster than any single ritual, affirmation, or visualization. Here's the formula: 3 thoughts, 3 emotions, 3 actions, morning, midday, night. This structure integrates your loop across the full arc of your day. It creates rhythm, reinforcement, and resonance. It replaces scattered energy with directed frequency. Let's break it down. Start your morning by choosing 3 dominant thoughts to hold. These are not random affirmations. These are precise, identity-based thoughts that align with the outcome you're stabilizing. Examples: my energy creates outcomes. This day responds to my frequency. I am synced with the version of me that already knows. Speak these aloud. Write them. Hold them mentally for 1 full minute each. This trains the mind to default to intention instead of reaction. Next, activate 3 emotional states. Use memory, music, breath, or visualization to generate elevated emotions that match your goal. Gratitude, certainty, excitement, peace. Spend 30 to 60 seconds fully immersing in each. Let the emotional charge activate your loop. This emotional alignment becomes your broadcast. It feeds the loop with coherence and clarity. Now choose 3 small, deliberate actions that reflect your desired identity. These don't need to be dramatic. They need to be aligned. Examples: emailing someone with confidence, moving your body with presence, spending money from a place of trust, not fear. These actions reinforce the energetic identity you're choosing to embody. They become signals in the field, evidence that you believe in the reality you're creating. Repeat this process around midday. Check your thoughts. Are they still aligned? If not, reset. Speak the 3 thoughts again. Check your emotional tone. Are you in doubt, stress, or contraction? Use breath, music, or movement to return to your 3 chosen emotional frequencies. Repeat your 3 actions, even in small ways. Momentum compounds. Then again at night. Night is where you stabilize the loop into your subconscious. Before sleep, recall your 3 thoughts. Let them echo in your mind as you relax. Replay the emotions you activated. Let your body re-enter that resonance. Review your actions. Celebrate any moment of alignment, no matter how small. Gratitude for your effort reinforces the pattern. This is not about volume. It's about precision. 3 thoughts, 3 emotions, 3 actions, 3 times a day. The loop doesn't need force. It needs consistency. Here's why this works. Every thought generates an electrical impulse. Every emotion creates a magnetic field. Every action completes the circuit. When all 3 are aligned repeatedly, they create a coherent signature. That signature broadcasts into the field with increasing power. The universe mirrors that signal back through events, people, and circumstances. Not out of magic, out of resonance. Use a tracker. Create a grid 3x3 and fill it out daily. This simple visual cue helps train the subconscious to value pattern over chaos. This isn't about controlling every moment. It's about building an internal structure strong enough to remain aligned even when the outer world fluctuates. Another bonus. This method minimizes sabotage. When you consistently think, feel, and act from alignment, it becomes difficult for old loops to reinsert themselves. The new loop becomes the default. It no longer requires willpower, it becomes identity. That's when manifestation becomes inevitable. Final truth. Mastery is rhythm, not effort. The energy loop doesn't need you to push harder. It needs you to stay steady. With the 3x3 manifestation grid, you're no longer reacting to reality, you're generating it. Next, we move into the final level, living from alignment without effort. Let's explore how manifestation becomes natural when the energy loop stabilizes permanently. Let's continue. There's a point when the energy loop stops feeling like a technique and becomes your way of being. At first, you had to think carefully about your thoughts. You had to generate emotion deliberately. You had to battle old beliefs, track synchronicities, correct your posture, regulate your reactions, and repeat visualizations daily. But now, things begin to shift. You start thinking in alignment without trying. Emotions harmonize naturally. Doubt becomes rare. Decisions reflect your chosen identity. You stop searching for signs because you're no longer unsure. The energy loop has stabilized not as a ritual but as a baseline. This is where the hack becomes a lifestyle. Living as a conscious creator isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. You recognize the field as responsive, not random. You treat every moment as an opportunity to reinforce or adjust your frequency. You walk through life like a tuning fork, aware of your signal, sensitive to feedback, intentional in every shift. You don't react. You respond. You don't grasp. You generate. You don't chase. You align. The energy loop becomes the invisible infrastructure of your reality. You begin to operate from a deeper sense of knowing. This is not belief. It's not hope. It's not confidence in outcome. It's a knowing that your internal world precedes the external. You trust that your frequency, when stabilized, must be answered. Not eventually, not someday, but now in energetic time. You stop waiting for physical proof to validate the signal. The signal itself becomes the proof. That's not detachment. That's maturity. The kind of inner stability that collapses timelines, attracts clarity, and dissolves resistance without needing force. Your energy starts to speak louder than your words. People feel something around you. You walk into spaces and shift them, not because of ego but because your frequency is tuned, clear, and coherent. You stop convincing others. You stop debating your path. You no longer need external agreement to sustain your alignment. The loop runs on internal confirmation. This is energetic sovereignty. You also stop micromanaging manifestation. You don't obsess over how or when things happen. You don't monitor your progress like a task list. You simply reinforce your frequency, moment to moment, knowing the loop will take care of the rest. You've stopped outsourcing your power. You've taken responsibility for every input you send into the field: thoughts, feelings, language, decisions. You've become the source, not the seeker. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean challenges vanish, but your relationship to them changes. Obstacles no longer trigger collapse. Delays no longer generate doubt. Contrast becomes clarity. Resistance becomes refinement. You stop labeling outcomes as success or failure. You see everything as feedback. That feedback is now decoded with ease and used to adjust your frequency quickly and intelligently. This agility makes your energy loop nearly immune to destabilization. You also stop segmenting your life. You no longer treat spirituality, productivity, creativity, health, or relationships as separate compartments. It all becomes one integrated field, one loop, expressing in different forms. Your morning practice bleeds into your meetings. Your breath work shows up in conversations. Your visualization informs your eating habits. Your emotional coherence shapes how you drive, walk, speak, and sleep. Your frequency becomes seamless. Integrity becomes natural. Flow becomes your default. You also begin to live from inner rhythm, not external pacing. You don't rush. You don't procrastinate. You tune in. And you act from inner clarity, not external pressure. This is not laziness. It's energetic intelligence. It's knowing when your loop is in output mode and when it's in integration mode. It's trusting that aligned timing is more powerful than forced scheduling. This rhythm-based living makes you more efficient, not less. You stop wasting energy on false urgency. You channel momentum through alignment. You also stop asking small questions. You don't just want results. You want resonance. You don't just want outcomes. You want congruence. You don't just want manifestations. You want mastery. You begin aiming your energy loop toward larger truths: purpose, expansion, contribution, creation at scale. You're no longer asking, how can I get this thing? You're asking, how can I express this frequency fully, everywhere, without distortion? And from that question, abundance follows. Connection follows. Visibility follows. The loop responds to expansion, not contraction. You also find yourself in community with other conscious creators. Not because you sought them, but because your signal attracted them. Shared language, shared clarity, shared standards. Your loop begins syncing with others who operate from coherence, not chaos. This creates networked frequency, mutual acceleration, collective uplift. You're no longer navigating growth alone. You've become part of an ecosystem of alignment, and that ecosystem becomes part of your loop. And as your life transforms, so does your